That is
no.
Anybody? All right.
No.
I'll ask Rashad. I'll ask the stream chat. Friends in Low Places is a song that crosses all demographics, right? Like that's America's song.
No.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
No.
Consider your sturdy bubble busted.
I don't think there is. I don't think there's a room in this country that if I play that song, 80+% aren't going to.
This room right here, which is filling up with people right now.
Include the chat.
Yeah, which is filling up right now.
Everybody knows Friends in Low Places.
A lot of no's coming in.
I know what it is, but I don't want to hear it.
Right.
When I hear country, I want to pull my considerable amount of hair out.
What's up, Rashad? How we doing, big dog?
All good, man. It's all good for me.
You know, I'm trying to think of all these forms of music that I would pick over country, and I can't think of any that I wouldn't pick over country, including opera. I'd rather sit through an entire opera than to listen to one country song.
Now you're just being ridiculous.
No. Opera singers have very strong voices, and it tells a story. Anything with accordion, I'll sit through that. I'm sitting here, you know, if someone would do an entire song with triangle, I would just listen to that. As long as he kept time.
Where this dude from, he must be. No, I'm in South Carolina. I feel like all the Carolinas would get down with some Garth Brooks. This is what it is, man.
But the room you're in right now disagrees. So I'm good with cowbell. Anything but country. Anything. There are some churches who don't believe in music and they just sing a cappella with Southern accents and it's not country. I'd rather hear that. You know, I'd rather hear spoken word.
My guy, Cam with the hot take, the correct take. That's it.
By the way, Chris Stapleton can sing, but I still don't want to hear country.
Great. I heard Willie Nelson's kid last night. He's good.
Why was he there?
No, not at the show. I just heard his music. The Rob Brown Show carries on. It is the Fan Upstate. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's Thursday. You know what that means. We go to the stream and welcome in a young man we have the pleasure of speaking with every single Thursday at this time, talking Carolina Panther football. He is one half of the host of the Panther Nation podcast, which you can find on Twitter at Panther Nation at PC. More importantly, make sure you go find them and subscribe to them on YouTube. My guy, Rashad Beard in the house. What's up, fella?
What's going on, man? Feeling good after, the hater mode was activated. Seems like my hater energy worked pretty well. So I'm feeling good.
I was curious about when hater mode was deactivated. Was it after the last whistle blew?
It was all the way to the end. I had to, it was a nail biter. So, we had to, I had to turn up the hate a little bit more in overtime, and it seems like it worked out.
They show my guy breaking down on the sideline. You're telling me not for a second did you feel bad for CMC? Not for a second.
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure. I'm a human at the end of the day. Yeah, I feel bad for him, but ultimately, the hate, I got my guys won. Shout out to the Chiefs. It is what it is.
Ugh. I got to tell you, dude.
He's saying all that. He bet on the Chiefs to win.
I did. I want a lot of money.
Exactly. You cleaned up. You should be happy, man.
Rashad Beard from the Panther Nation podcast here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. If you want to join us on the stream, Facebook.com/the Fan Upstate, Twitter.com/the Fan Upstate, or search the Rob Brown Show on YouTube or Twitch. We are live all 4 hours, all 5 days a week. Rashad joins us every Thursday. At 8:20, obviously, we're kind of in that weird spot now, Rashad, where we're not really making moves yet, but you can be. The official off season is kicked in. We're all kind of waiting for the combine that kicks off in 11 days. You got smoke starting to get thrown out about quarterbacks who may or may not be moving on, et cetera, et cetera. Right now, what are you looking at? What are you talking about? What are you guys focusing on the pod? Because, again, we're kind of in that quiet storm part of the season where there's a lot going on behind the scenes as far as figuring out personnel moves and draft picks and all that, but nothing really happening that is public facing. What are you guys really getting into right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's really watching free agency. I mean, it's a very interesting time. Like you said, the offseason starts right after the Super Bowl, right? And so the staff is rounded out, and now it's time to see what we're going to do, how we're going to build this roster. Dan Morgan came out and said, hey, we need more dogs on this team. And we're all waiting to see what kind of dogs we're going to bring in. So we know we got a lot of gaps to fill, but it's also interesting to see how this team is going to be shaped. We got to understand, the offensive line, how is it going to get moved around? The defense, you got Ivero back. Are you going to add anything new to that? How he gets to continue to build on top of what he started building last year. So again, great on the defensive side, got some work to do on the offensive side. So I'm excited about this offseason, and those moves, those first couple of moves are going to indicate how this team is going to look. And I'm excited to see if we're going to get some dogs in the building.
Rashad Beer from the Panther Nation podcast here on the Rob Brown Show. Obviously, free agency is going to have to be a big, if not the big priority for this team without a ton of draft capital to work with, without a first rounder. I mean, you have a pick right out of the gate in round number 2. So, I mean, if you want to be optimistic, sure, real late first rounder. But as far as free agency goes, we already are seeing some names that are not going to be available, guys like Chris Jones. Got that weird story out of Philly going on with Hassan Reddick, where the Eagles said, we're letting him find a trade. And then he said, I never asked for one. Knowing the guys we know that are out there and knowing the guys that we know are not available right now, is there anybody you got your eye on as a legitimate potential free agent for Carolina?
Not really. I mean, one of the hottest names out there was T. Higgins. And T. Higgins, of course, got the franchise tag by the Cincinnati Bengals. So, I mean, that to keep an eye on the receivers, man. Mike Evans obviously would be nice, but we know that he's, towards the end of his career. On the balance, I wouldn't say that. He's toward the back end of his career, and he's probably going to be looking to chase another ring. So it depends on where he wants to go, what his motivation is. But that connection, Canellis and Mike Evans, I want to see that here in Carolina. We need to improve our wide receivers defensively. I don't think we have a lot of money to play around with as far as bringing like a Hassan Reddick or even a guy like Chris. We don't have that type of money. And so I definitely think it'll be some lower end free agents. And I'm not sure. I'm not too sure. Hassan Reddick, that would be nice. We had him here. A lot of folks didn't want to pay him at the time. Obviously, we had Brian Burns and Hassan here. First time we had double-digit sack guys in a long, long time. And so that was great to see. And unfortunately, it looks like he's going through the same situation he dealt with here, in that he doesn't necessarily teams don't want to pay him. Like, he's very productive, a very productive pass rusher, but for some reason teams don't want to invest. And the proof is in the pudding. He's been having double-digit sacks since he left Arizona. It's kind of crazy to me. It's the conundrum of why people don't want to invest in Hassan Reddick. But it'd be great to have him back. Don't see it happening just because we have to focus on Brian Burns, Derek Brown, the guys we already have. But it's gonna. I don't know. I don't have any like one particular free agent that I am looking at to bring in here. I have to see. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree and I respect that. Running back position. We've talked about this. You brought in Miles Sanders. He just never really turned into the guy. And whether or not it was talent or tactics that prevented that from happening, I got to kind of think that's a position that becomes a free agency position. There's not a lot of guys in this draft at that spot that stand out, like, for instance, Bijan Robinson did last year coming into this. We got Jesse in the chat that said Austin Eckler might come into play. There are going to be a couple out there. I know, and I'll tell you right now, I'm preparing myself to be sick, but there's talk that New Orleans may let Alvin Kamara go for like a 7th-round pick just to dump the salary. There's going to be some running backs out there that are available. Is there anybody? Is there any thoughts in your mind? Is that even the right way to solve that position?
Yeah, man, I don't know what's going to go on with the running back position. Obviously, we have sunken costs in Miles Sanders, so I don't see that he will leave. I think they will work it out. And at the end of the day, man, Chuba is doing a great job. Chuba's still under contracts. He's still here, so I think Chuba is going to be RB1. Yes, I do think we need to bring in another back, a power back. There's a kid I can't recall his name off the top of my head, and the chat's going to get me, but the guy from Wisconsin. He's a very good running back. He's a big 6'2", 230-pound running back. I look to bring somebody in. I mean, you look at what's happening, and I've been talking about this for a long time. Well-built teams are not paying running backs. They're just not. They're just not. That's why the Saints are looking to dump Kamara, because you can invest in the running back position elsewhere. Braylon Allen, thank you, Carlo. Carlo in the chat got it. Braylon Allen is the guy I'm looking at at Wisconsin. He's a big body running back, powerful running back. But teams aren't investing a lot of money into running backs like that. And you see what happens with Christian McCaffrey. He was here. We paid him. We ended up trading him to dump the salary. That's just a strategic move. It's a strategic move to do that. So I'm looking at building through the draft. There's a couple of guys out there that I would take a look at. I'm not looking at free agency. Eckler sounds nice, but again, I'm not investing a heavy amount of money. We need to get wide receivers over running backs.
Rashad Beer from the Panther Nation podcast here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. We've obviously had Canellis in the building now for a minute. We've got the coaching staff filled out. Ejiro Evero coming back, which I think you and I have been very excited about. Have you gotten a vibe from the Panther Nation podcast army? Like, are they in on Ejiro Evero? Is this pretty much consensus? Because Lonzo's not a big fan of the move. I am.
No, yeah, we love Evero, man. He did a great job considering the circumstances that he dealt with last year. A lot of injuries on that side of the football. Lost Shaq Thompson for the year. Lost J.C. Horn for a good bit. Lost Jeremy Chin so a lot of good pieces went down in that defense, and he was still able to produce. Now, that said, it's not perfect, right? We have to get some more pass rushers. I think we were like last in the league in total sacks. So while they didn't give up a lot of yards, they were put up against. They were good against a lot of good teams, and so I feel like we're going to do a great job. I feel like he's going to continue to build on that. Now, there is a bit of a situation where you can argue that, hey, he's a holdover, right? You want to bring in a whole new culture into Carolina, and having that holdover may build some kind of resentment. I get that. I understand that, but I don't think Evero was the problem. I think he did a great job. I don't think he's that type of guy, but you never know. But I think that at the end of the day, Evero is going to do a good job, and we got to continue to build on what we have and bring in some more personnel to help Evero get the best out of his scheme. He had 1 year, and that 1 year was solid. Let's continue to build on it. So I think it was a great move.
Rashad Beard with the Panther Nation podcast here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. We've talked about this. And when you say the circumstances, this is the way that I saw it. When your offense is not scoring points, when they can't sustain drives, when your defense is taking more snaps than any other defense in the National Football League, when they're being asked to play more than any other team in the National Football League, and then you end the season holding a playoff team, a divisional winner in Tampa Bay, yes, a 9-win one, but a divisional team, a divisional champ nonetheless, to 9 points on 3 field goals. There's not much more you can ask out of that, right? And I want to get your thoughts on the Steve Wilkes firing in San Francisco here before we get out of here in a minute, but I kind of looked at that as the same way, is like, man, how much more do you want based on what this offense is not doing for you right now?
Yeah, I 100% agree with that, man. It definitely mirrors what's going on with Wilkes. In that, you can only expect so much when your defense is consistently on the ropes. They always have to kind of battle back and hold these offenses back, and they get put in terrible situations, whether it be turnovers, pick sixes. We know Bryce threw a couple of pick sixes, and those points technically go on the defense, right? And so they get put in terrible situations. I think, again, Evero did a fantastic job considering the circumstances. And if we can put up an offense that can put up a somewhat of a fight, I think you'll see this defense get better and better, and maybe they can actually get some rest and play well and play better. Hopefully we'll see that. And I think you're absolutely right. And the Wilkes situation is very unfortunate, man. I think it's a scapegoat firing. And I'll talk about that more. I'm doing a morning huddle right after this to talk about that in depth. But terrible firing. I think that was an absolute scapegoat job by Kyle Shanahan and them. Not good at all.
Yeah, I said the same thing. We talked about that a little bit earlier this morning. We'll come back to Carolina because I did want to ask you about that. My thought here was San Francisco's defense gave up one offensive touchdown in 4 quarters of football to the Kansas City Chiefs. Not Carolina, to the Kansas City Chiefs. If you'd have told me going in that the San Francisco defense, and by the way, that one touchdown came after a muffed punt turnover where the defense had just come off the field 10 seconds before that, and Patrick Mahomes got the ball at the 16 going in. If you'd have told me that was the circumstance and they were going to give up one offensive touchdown, I'd have told you before the game San Francisco's winning that football contest. This 100% to me was not Steve Wilks falling on the sword. This was Kyle Shanahan shoving it through him.
Yeah, I agree. I actually agree with that. I think that Wilks did a decent job. Now, are there some things he could have did? You don't zero blitz Patrick Mahomes. Like, that's a mistake. You can't do that. And you got torched in overtime, gave up a lot of yards. So were there some mistakes? Yes, but I think he did a fantastic job considering the circumstances. Like you said, the turnover that happened in the red zone got Patrick Mahomes those points. So I think he did a good job considering the circumstances. And yeah, man, I can turn around and point at that offense, man. If they go and score, Brock Purdy makes a couple of throws, hits the open guys. That game is completely different. If they win that game, Wilks is not fired. So now all of a sudden, I don't understand why, he just you held the greatest quarterback of all time to basically what you did, right? And it's like, man, how do you get fired after that? And I get it. The San Francisco 49ers are in championship mode. They got to do what they got to do. Their window is going to close here in a brief second. Like, their window is closing. So you got to do what you got to do to get over the hump. Was Wilks the problem? I don't think so. And I think you got other issues you need to, especially looking at the offensive side of football. I think you got some issues over there. So it was a clear scapegoat firing. Not a good look for Kyle Shanahan and San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, no, I felt the same way. As soon as that came across yesterday, it was just like a fall back in the chair moment. Like, what are we doing here? We kind of know it's on you, Kyle. Like, he was not associated. And I don't hang the 28-3 Super Bowl where Kyle Shanahan was the OC for Atlanta on Kyle Shanahan. My man grabbed you 28 against Brady. If you can't stop him from scoring 25.5, that's on the defense as much as Kyle. But they did get to 28 and not score again. And then in the last one against Kansas City, even that one, I'm like, all right, it is Patrick Mahomes. He's going to put up a bunch of points, but also you kind of petered out. On this one, I don't know what to tell you. If your defense holds Kansas City to a legitimate 10 points of offense in 3.5 quarters of football, you better win that game.
All right, I can't take it anymore. I tried to stay quiet. He got worse when they got into the playoffs. Someone on the stream mentioned Detroit and the other teams they played. It got worse. The defense got worse as they went into the playoffs. When you get into the playoffs, you should be better, not worse. D'Amico Ryans is there. They win that Super Bowl. It just, I mean, they got worse. They got worse. They started giving up. They gave up more yards. They barely made it to the Super Bowl.
Where were the 49ers when D'Amico Ryans was the DC?
Quarterback got hurt. So, or they would have been in the Super Bowl. Would they not have been in the Super Bowl if the quarterback hadn't got hurt? They would have beat Philadelphia. They definitely would have been there.
If was a fifth, I'd be a drunk man.
You're
right.
Listen, I get all this, but I called that he was going to be fired. I knew he was going to be fired because of his failings in the playoffs. And
his failings.
They lost the Super Bowl.
They lost. Yeah, they lost in overtime. They won though. Like they won the 3 games that they struggled. They won. They got a W, right? They did what they had to do. And all teams are going to get better in the playoffs, right? You're going to face different challenges. It's a chess match out there. You can't expect the same results in the regular season to translate to the playoffs. It's a different game. And he held Patrick Mahomes. He held Patrick Mahomes to like what he did. He did a great job. He did a great job.
I disagree, but here's the thing: for the first time in a long time, Rob and Rashad are on the same page. I try to be quiet.
Is it Wilks' fault that Kyle Shanahan completely flubbed the overtime? No.
Shanahan deserves a lot of
it.
He
does.
But
he can't fire himself.
No, and what I said also that he would be fired as scapegoat because they got to fire someone. And I said this last week after the Super Bowl. Knew he was going to be the guy who was fired. And I'm not trying to go, look at me. I called it. Someone was going to be let go, and it may not be the only ones. The special teams coach may get fired. Who knows? But in the end, when it comes down to it, when your superiors are looking at you like, okay, you had all this. Why didn't you win with this? That defense was stacked, though, man, and he made some mistakes that he should not have made. He got outcoached, but he got outcoached outcoached by Andy Reid. He absolutely did.
And even if you got outcoached, getting outcoached by Andy
Reid.
No,
that's why I threw my hands up. You got outcoached by Andy Reid, arguably the best coach in the league right now.
No, Kyle Shanahan got outcoached. Listen, it's not his fault.
Yeah, but he doesn't coach the defense. Wilkes did.
He coaches the team. He's responsible for the entire team. He's a head coach, and he's not going to fire himself. It was a clear scapegoat firing. Somebody had to go. Again, he cites like he's not the right guy for the we just didn't match, bro. Come on, man. Come on. It was a scapegoat firing. It is what it is. Kyle is not going to fire himself. He should.
That's it.
Well, you should fire yourself. Okay.
I mean, honestly, he might should. He really should. All right, Rashad Beer from the Panther Nation podcast here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. What you guys got coming up, big dog?
And so, I'm going in depth to talk about this Wilkes situation because I got a lot more opinions about that. So after this, I'll be going live. We're gonna cover the combine, all the pro days, all the stuff coming up. Off season is the best season. I love the off season, so we're gonna be breaking down all the signings. We got sign or walk for all the free agents. A lot of good stuff coming up on PNP.
Let's be real. There's no off seasons for us, dude. There's no off seasons. There's none. Rashad Beard hosts the Panther Nation podcast. You can find them on Twitter at Panther Nation PC. More importantly, make sure you search and subscribe to the Panther Nation podcast on YouTube. I'll be coming by to watch a little bit after we get out of here.
Come through. It's gonna be great.
I just want you to know I love you, Rashad. That's what you know.
We typically agree, man. I know. We got to get back on track.
Yeah, this is weird for me, but okay.
Rashad, we'll talk to you next week, big fella. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. Thank you.
There you go. Rashad Beard, host of the Panther Nation podcast. For those of y'all that are watching on his stream, you're welcome to come over and join us on ours. We're taking you all the way till 10 a.m. Just search The Rob Brown Show on YouTube or on Twitch. We're staying live up till 10 a.m. We are back after this. It is the Fan Upstate. Yeah, that's the take right there, Alvin. That's the take right there.
Yeah, but you could do the same thing on the defensive side with Chase Young and all those guys. I mean, come on.
That's my thing, man. Someone had to go. Why? Why did someone have to go? You held the Kansas City Chiefs to less than 23 points for a full 4 quarters. If you told me that defense was going to give up 1 touchdown in 4 quarters of football, what the hell else can you do, man? Like, what else are you going to ask out of them? Pitch a shutout against Patrick Mahomes or you're fired? It's a little weak. It's a little weak to me. That's not the right move. Yeah. Make that XP, take the Christian McCaffrey fumble out of the beginning. Any of that changes, that game's not going to overtime.
There's nothing worse than coming home from a cold day.
Yes, we are in the same room.
And nobody has ever hit anybody else in this room. Well, the two of us have never hit each other.
There's been some close things. Then I got traded. Yeah, what Kelsey did, that was out of line. Just yelling at your coach, period, and bumping him like that.
He admitted it.
But
too.
as a I pointed out on the air, if you look the game before, Andy did that to Kelsey. Kelsey was going by, and he threw one at him and knocked him sideways. So they had that kind of relationship. It was unfortunate, but you still, no matter how passionate you are, you shouldn't be up in your coach's face doing that. And as an older guy who can fall easier right now, I thought Andy's footwork was just, I mean, it was magnificent.
See, further proof that the PNP Army and the Rob Brown Show Armada, no ball. Also, like how we have an Army and an Armada.
Well, when you need to go to war, what else do you need? An Army and an Armada.
It's me, your couch. What a tag. What a tag. Hey, me. Yo, it's me, your couch.
What a great commercial. That was excellent.
10 times better performance can make a big difference. Castrol Edge motor oil gives your engine 10 times better high temperature performance. Castrol Edge, better oil for maximum performance. Now through March 4th, get 5 quarts of Castrol Edge or Edge high mileage full synthetic and wonderful.
Yeah, I saw so Luke surprised Cam at Radio Row during the Super Bowl, and it was cool. Like Cam freaked out. Like Cam was stoked to see him, which was like a cool moment to see those dudes just be bros for a minute. I loved it. I haven't gotten a chance to listen to the pod yet, but I have no doubt it was good. The Rob Brown Show rolls on. It is the Fan Upstate. Rob and the Great with Lonzo with you on a beautiful Upstate Thursday morning. Got a bunch of stuff we've been talking about on the show today. Caitlin Clark tonight back at the house with a chance to set the all-time scoring record in NCAA women's basketball. She just needs 8 points to break the record that Kelsey Plum has been hanging on to for a hot minute. Caitlin had an opportunity during last Sunday's L on the road at Nebraska, but she recorded only 31 points in the contest. Would have needed to get to 39 to do it. It was the 15th time this season that she has crossed the 30-point plateau in a game for the Hawkeyes. She has scored single digits in a game only once in her entire collegiate career. It came early in her freshman year. Now she heads back to Carver Hawkeye Arena against Michigan, and the 15,000 plus in attendance have a very good opportunity to see this happen, which is why you can buy individual tickets. There's no group tickets left. Individual tickets. And if you want in the building to sit up in the top, you're coming at a $1,000 a pop minimum to get in the door tonight.
All right, I'm going to put on my sweet-looking Batman cowled tinfoil hat and say, what if they wanted her to just back off on her scoring a little bit? Because attendance is up every single game to see her break this record. And prices are up everywhere to see her break this. I'm just saying, if you're someone who looks at that sort of thing and thinks, well, maybe there could possibly be.
If she scores 7 points tonight after averaging 31 a game for basically 3 3/4 years, then I'll go, okay, tinfoil cap time. The reality is Caitlin Clark was busting her, her hump last week in the fourth quarter in that game on the road, and just the ball wouldn't go in. There was a lid on the hoop. It happens to everybody. It happened to Jordan. There's just nights where there's a glass lid on the top of the hoop and you can't get the rock to go through no matter what you do. That was that game for her last Sunday.
How much did you say individual tickets were?
$1,000. Like average.
I just,
Why? Why can't you just enjoy things?
I do. I do. I listen. I didn't say I believed it wholeheartedly, but there's a percentage of me that wonders if it's a possibility. That's all.
No.
I mean,
It's basketball.
yeah.
You can't score 39 every time out.
You're right. Ask Tim Donahue
She only
about
got to
that.
31.
I mean, he would tell you that, it's basketball and you can do some things.
So
And you might end up in jail, but you can do
college
some
sports.
things.
It is pure and perfect with absolutely no corruption
I'm
involved at all. ESPN.
sorry.
I mean, did I say that?
I'm sorry, the scholar athletes.
Yes,
I don't know what I was
Respectful to the
thinking.
student athletes.
Yeah,
Thank you very
okay.
much.
All right.
This young lady. I said this to Cody Decker. I asked him on our Saturday show, Bet for the Cycle, the nationally syndicated gambling show, sports gambling show specifically. That is your favorite show in America. I asked Cody Decker about this, and I'll ask you guys in the listening and viewing audience the same thing. Is Caitlin Clark the face of college basketball right now? Because I think the answer is yes. I think it was Angel Reese towards the end of last year. And I think right now it's Caitlin Clark. I think Angel Reese and LSU with Haley Van Lith coming down in the transfer portal out of Louisville. I think that team has struggled enough that they have kind of fallen off the radar just a little bit. I think the faces of, and because you had so much turnover in South Carolina on Dawn's team, there's not that Aaliyah Boston there this year. So I think
They're
right now.
still number one, though, right?
They are undefeated and they're number one.
Yeah.
But we're in terms of the teams you're paying attention to. Yes, South Carolina is runaway the team you need to pay attention to if you are watching women's college basketball. But I'm talking about when I say college basketball, I don't mean is Caitlin Clark the face of women's college basketball. I mean, is she the face of college basketball as a sport? And to me, the answer is yes. I asked Decker that. I'm like, quick, name me the guy right now that you would say is more of a recognizable face in college basketball than Caitlin Clark. And I don't think Decker could have come up with one. Like, I don't think there's a dude playing right now that if we threw headshots up on the screen would be more recognizable than Caitlin Clark. Now you can say that's because, the networks are pushing her. The networks are, yes, but they're pushing her for a reason. She is going to shatter the NCAA's all-time scoring record this year. Not break it. She's going to break it tonight. I'm going to go ahead and call the shot. She's going to break it tonight. But by the end of the season, she is going to be hundreds of points ahead of where Kelsey Plum was when she was done. She is right now, without a doubt, the biggest face, name, and personality. Angel Reese had an opportunity to take that from her, but that team has been struggling. Now that chance is gone. Caitlin Clark is the biggest face of the entire sport, men's and women's right now. Zero questions to me. And by the way, if you're not planning on watching her tonight, you should, because she's a freaking baller, dude. She's a baller. Straight up, there's nothing on the floor she can't do. She is an all-around baller. She will snipe you from outside. She will drive through your chest. She will hit you with the pull-up mid-range. There's not a spot on the floor that she can't beat you from. She is a baller. And I'll tell you right now, Caitlin Clark's going on the big TV in the Bro Cave today. Caitlin Clark's going on the big TV. The duels are going on the mid TV. The NBA's going on the small TV tonight. That's how much I'm excited to watch her play tonight. She's a baller. Also a baller, this guy with the sports flash.
Yeah, that's me. I mean, look at me. How could you not think that? Connor Stallions may have created a huge scandal for Michigan, but he's also created change in college football. The ACC has approved the use of sideline tablets and helmet communication technology during its winter meetings. The rules will still have to be approved by the NCAA. The administration allowed experiments with the tech during bowl season, and rules about the tech will be developed by the conference and the NCAA in tandem. Clemson defended home court against Miami, trouncing the Canes 77-60. Chase Hunter racked up 20 points to lead all scorers, and Clemson tallied more rebounds, assists, and steals than Miami. The win moves them above 500 for the first time in conference, and most experts say, barring catastrophe, they should be in the tournament. Tune in Sunday at 1:30 as Furman men's basketball team takes on Chattanooga right here on the Fan Upstate.
Sick and tired of baby joints? Dread the idea of surgery? You need to call QC Kinetics today. Hey, it's Charlie James. The state of healthcare is always changing. The old ideas like steroids and surgery are no longer your only option. Regenerative medicine at QC Kinetics is transforming lives with innovative non-surgical drug-free treatments that deliver lasting results. Knee pain, back pain, shoulder pain from arthritis or injury? Don't let this pain keep you from living your best life. QC Kinetics advanced state-of-the-art treatments harness and direct your body's natural ability to restore and repair damaged joint tissue. This is a revolutionary approach that can get you long-term relief with no downtime. Make 2024 the year you reclaim your mobility, reclaim your independence, walk and run, play and live without the danger and trauma of surgery and without harmful drugs. Call QC Kinetics now for a free consultation. 864-448-3772. That's 864-448-3772. Greenwood and Ashland.
Bacon. So I'm guessing you didn't have that great of a time last night because you didn't come
go.
in. Okay. So that's why.
I'll tell you what happened. Because the show was at 7:30, ordinarily I would have taken her out to a 5-star dinner. But because the show was at 7:30, we wanted to be there closer to 7. I had dinner ready for her. I cooked her I took her one of her favorite Italian dishes. Made her some Alfredo with sun-roasted pesto with 4-cheese cannoli and Italian sausage and some mushrooms on top. So I cooked her a dinner, and then we poured a couple of glasses of wine, and it was a bottle we had not had before, and we both really liked it. So we polished the bottle and opened another one. And then about halfway through the second bottle of wine at 6:30, we were like, yeah, no. So we were going to Uber to the show, and I pulled up Uber and called up a ride, and it was going to be like a $60 ride from our house to the well, which also meant it was going to be more expensive to get back leaving the well. So it was going to go, we were going to be going in for $150 to catch a ride to the show and back. So we were like, nope. So we stayed home, watched a movie, and just hung out.
I'm guessing it wasn't pro wrestlers versus zombies.
It was not wrestlers versus zombies. No. I tried to talk her into it. She wasn't having it.
This is a good move on her
We
part.
watched like 4 episodes of Law and Order, SVU, romance stuff.
Yeah, definitely a mood setter.
Yeah, for sure. Nothing says bow chicka bow wow like Law and Order, SVU. No, we just had a nice little stay-at-home night. We were both kind of like, I've seen Journey 3 times in this lineup. And as much as I would like to see Toto, I was like, am I paying $150 to go drive to see Toto? I couldn't justify it.
So disappointed. I'm glad you had a good evening. Though.
We had a lovely evening.
Well, there you go.
Had
That's
a
all that
lovely
matters.
evening. It was one of those, sometimes you just need an evening with your person to like get right. That's what we had. It was very nice. I do want to watch the new Mr. and Mrs. Smith with the Childish Gambino.
It looks good.
It looks great. I very much want to watch it, Deontay. Texas says, when we really look at it, have there been more recognizable women in college basketball than men in the last 5 years? I got to tell you, I think yes. Really, I think yes. Now, you can have the argument about why for a lot of reasons. You can have the argument that you have a larger crop of college basketball superstars. We've had recognizable guys. If you're a big college basketball guy, Armando Bacot, RJ Davis at North Carolina, recognizable dudes. PJ Walker at Clemson, recognizable dudes. There's no shortage of dudes in the game that you can look at and go, that guy's going to be an NBA star one day, or at least a consistent NBA player one day. In Shiflin from Clemson is going to be he's going to be like a career backup who gets 8 minutes, 3 points, 4 boards, and an assist a night for like 20 years in the league. These are the type of cats we got in the men's game for sure. So I can argue there's a bigger crop of NBA guys in the league in college basketball than maybe ever before. And there are fewer standout women in the game. We know about the Cavender twins, Haley Van Lith, Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark. When you have standouts, and you can take it all the way back to like Candace Parker and Cheryl Swoops. You can take it back to the legends when the women's game was really hitting that kind of that revolutionary period, that there are fewer obvious stars in the women's game. They're stars, but there's fewer obvious stars. And so we kind of dial in on the ones that are the obvious stars. And when there's few of them, you can heap more attention on. When you talk the men's game, yeah, it's a wider crop of NBA guys. So you're dialed in on all these different players at Kentucky and Tennessee and A&M and Clemson and a shocking South Carolina team and Gonzaga and St. Mary's. And all these different schools. And by the way, there's 300 teams in the men's game every year that can make the tournament. There's plenty of attention played. And there's same on the women's side, but realistically every year there's like 1 to 2 teams that you're like, they've got 2 superstars. That's the team right there. Right now, Iowa, South Carolina. You would have thought LSU with Kim Mulkey, but LSU's given a couple of games back. So all of a sudden, and remember, LSU built a super team. Haley Van Lith transferred from Louisville down to LSU to play for Kim Mulkey with Angel Reese. And they've given a couple back, including getting beat up on by Dawn Staley's Gamecocks. Dawn Staley and the Gamecocks broke LSU. They broke Kim Mulkey's team. They have not looked the same. And you've had some issues with LSU. But remember, Angel Reese sat out, like 4 games earlier in the year for reasons we still don't know. And they won those games. But as soon as she came back, they lost to Dawn Staley, and they have not been the same team since that point. So I think because there are fewer teams that you look and go, that team genuinely has a chance to win the title. And there are fewer stars we kind of dial in, but it doesn't change the fact that Caitlin Clark is so head and shoulders above everybody else this year. Last year, her and Angel Reese were kind of neck and neck all year, and Angel got the better of Caitlin Clark. She hit her with the reverse John Cena last year. And it was a moment. When she walked off the court, Angel Reese pointing at that ring finger, it was like, damn, this chick arrived.
Yeah, lots of, that's disrespectful, and you can't do that. That's not, yeah.
I think Caitlin Clark was the first one that came out and said, I ran my mouth when it gets thrown back at me because I took the L. I got to own it. And she did. Admittedly,
that's the first time I'd ever heard of her.
Sure.
It's when that happened. And now she has stayed on the radar.
100%. Because that's the other part is a lot of, like Armando Bacot for North Carolina. Last year, Armando Bacot exploded onto the scene last year for North Carolina. Exploded onto the scene. And he's playing good ball this year, but I check the scores every day. And every now and then, I dive in and you look, and Armando Bacot turned in a 13.6 rebound, 3 assist night. That's not going to put you on SportsCenter top 10. Caitlin Clark's averaging 31 a game. Let me put it this way. I read an article Monday about Caitlin Clark's game on the road against Nebraska up in Lincoln, a game that she needed 38 to set the record. And everybody said maybe she can do it. 34 is kind of the usual number. She's averaging 31. She can get to 34 regularly. She could do it tonight. She got to 31. I read an article Monday morning. Not an editorial, mind you, like a journalistic take on the game. And it opened with Caitlin Clark scored only 31 last night. What? She scored only 31 points for Iowa. That's just kind of where she is. That's just kind of the spot. So that's why I said ending the last segment, and I appreciate that texter. I think right now Caitlin Clark is the face of the game. The face of the game. The face of the game. Cleaning up another text. Texter said, Rob, when you played football, you didn't spit in people's eyes or try to stick your finger through their face mask? ? Turns out I did.
Did you have it done to you, though?
I played primarily the basketball court. There was a cat that played for Pace High School, which is just outside of Pensacola. I played for Choctawhatchee High School in Fort Walton Beach, Florida. And I hated playing Pace. There was a guy in my same grade who played for Pace. This dude was a brick wall. He was like if Mike Allstott was a high school kid, all right? And this cat played dirty. This is the dude where if you were kind of in a box out battle with this cat, he would give you a love tap to the junk when you went hands up to go get a board. He would have his hands down and he would give you a little love tap in the junk. If he spun, his elbow was always happened to be at nose height. This dude, that's just how he played the game. And it was infuriating. I've told you the story before. We had a kid on our team named Frank Spitznagel. Frank was a terrifying person. Frank was the dude that was like, he was an okay basketball player, but he's the dude that you sent out onto the floor when somebody needed to be stopped from playing that way, right? And if Frank didn't end the game with a tech, he was angry. Didn't matter if we won or lost. Did I get my tee? Did I catch my tee on the way out? The reason this came up, if you missed the conversation earlier, is because the NBA is having their All-Star game this Saturday, and you'll have the traditional broadcast, but they're doing an alternate broadcast, and this alternate broadcast is going to have active NBA players. It's like a Manning cast. And there are 2 players who are going to be manning, my understanding, manning the mic for the entire game. There is a studio host. Then they're going to have Charles Barkley. I'm already in. I'll watch anything Chuck Barkley does on TV. Anything he does. They're going to have Chuck Barkley and Draymond Green. And I asked the question, we collaboratively, are we good? Are we just good with Draymond Green now? We're just good with him. My dude is stomping.
Are we good with Charles Barkley now?
I am. I love Chuck.
So after time, you forget that he's like threw some guy through a window and all this other stuff that he did back in the day. So now it's okay because he's funny.
I'm not saying my take might not be mildly hypocritical.
Okay. I
acknowledge it might be.
All right.
Now, Chuck got in a fight.
He also made that commercial, I am not a role model, because of all the stuff that he did.
For the record, that's why I love Chuck.
Okay,
right?
but you don't like Draymond.
I do think there is a difference between the two. Chuck's in a fight. Draymond is stomping on a dude's chest who's laying on the ground. He is punching out. Do you think that Jordan Poole was looking at Draymond like, oh, I better defend myself? No, that's my teammate. We're practicing. Even if we get a little heated, you don't KO your own team.
Listen. If you're on a team with Steve Smith, you always think you're going to get those hands. So if you know you got some guy that every team I was on, every job I've been on, there's always a hothead that you just don't know what they're going to do at some point.
Even with a hothead, you don't KO now you get into it with your teammate, you push and shove, maybe you get into it a little extra during playtime on practice.